We've got a question from our friend Jason who says, I love your videos. Thank you, man. What's your diet like over there? What about when funds are low? What do you eat at the end of the month? I'd love to hear your thoughts on nutrition. Well, there are a couple of things I'm going to say about your question. And the very first thing that stood out to me was this statement. What about when funds are low? What do you eat at the end of the month? If your funds are low at the end of the month, they're low at the beginning of the month, too. And there's a budgeting problem going on there. Now, I understand the idea of living paycheck to paycheck, right? You got to pay rent, you got to buy food, you got to pay all these bills, right? And at the end of the month, it just seems like, man, there's so much less money than I had at the beginning of the month when I got my paycheck, right? But if you budget and realize, after all the bills are paid, this is how much money I actually have to spend on food. That's going to make a world of difference in what you eat, how you are able to eat, compared to feeling rich at the beginning of the month, or at least feeling a little more spendy at the beginning of the month, and then having to scrimp and save at the end of the month. Budget for the month if you're living paycheck to paycheck, man. And you might find, if you start to learn to budget, you might dig your way out of that living paycheck to paycheck type of lifestyle. But I hope that advice can help you, man. Budget, meaning write it down. Write down a plan for how you are going to spend your money that month on food. Budget your food, what you will eat every single day, what you actually can afford, right? So what's my diet like over here in China? It's pretty simple. Plants and animals, man. Plants and animals. So what does it consist of? Simple stuff. Oats. I eat a lot of oats. Oats are cheap. Oats are good for you. Oats have a lot of macronutrients that help athletes move and do stuff and exert energy. What else do I eat? Chicken. I eat a lot of chicken. Boneless, skinless chicken breast in a lot of places is kind of expensive. In the United States, for example, it's one of the more expensive cuts of chicken. In China, it's actually one of the cheaper ones. It's kind of weird that way. The more expensive cuts of chicken are the feet, the chicken feet. The chicken wings, the bony parts. Something about Chinese culture, especially in Shanghai, they love the bony stuff. Meat on the bone, the grizzly stuff. It's weird, but there's this cultural tendency that essentially if it looks more like an animal, it's better for you than if it looks less like an animal. And so if you go to a shop or a restaurant, and you get the menu, you're like, okay, let's see. They've got pictures in the menu. Kind of like a Denny's in the United States, which, see, fancy restaurants in America don't have pictures in the menu. They just have, like, fine print. And so you kind of have to guess what everything looks like, or you look around at other tables. Oh, I want what they're having. Right? Because we're very visual people, but for some reason, fancy restaurants haven't figured this out. But Denny's did. Right, they got pictures. You can get pancakes, you can get eggs, you can get hash browns, whatever. They got pictures of it. And so you don't even have to read to order it at Denny's, you just point. Right? And restaurants in China, almost all the fancier ones have pictures, like big, glossy, full color, beautiful pictures of the food that just make you want to eat it, like, oh man, that looks good. And so it's very useful if you're a foreigner who doesn't speak Chinese or speaks very limited Chinese and you don't know how to say, I would like I'm trying to think of a traditional Chinese food, the Five Treasures spicy frog dish with the tofu, please. You just have to point. And they're like, okay. So you go to these restaurants and you open up this thing and you look at a chicken dish and it shows a whole chicken with the head on it, with the beak and the eyes and the face staring at you. And from an American perspective, we're like, oh, that's weird. The chicken has a face still on it. It's looking at me. Ah. And the Chinese see that and they're like, good. That means it's a real chicken. That means it's fresh. That means this was a living thing with life, and consuming living things is where life comes from. It's important to remember that. A lot of people are very uncomfortable with that idea, the idea of consuming living things. But you know what? In order to live at all, you must consume other living things, be they plants, animals, fungus, etc. You have to consume the bodies of other living things to live. So, yeah, where was I going with this? I eat a lot of chicken. Oats and chicken. Eggs, man. I eat a lot of eggs. You ever see that movie Beauty and the Beast where Gaston, the Disney one, Gaston the villain, he's a big muscular guy, starts singing this song about how many eggs he ate to get that large? It's not the worst nutrition advice if you're trying to pack on muscle. Eat a lot of eggs. Some people might say, well, what about cholesterol? Cholesterol isn't. Your reaction, your body's reaction to cholesterol is largely dependent on your genetic predisposition to how your body reacts to cholesterol. Surprise, not everybody processes it the same way. For some people, eating a dozen eggs a day might not be the best idea. And some people actually can ingest as many eggs as Gaston did. So, man, if you're concerned about that, get some blood work done. Talk to a doctor about that. Talk to a nutritionist about it. I'm not a nutritionist, but, man, what else? I eat a lot of rice. Rice is a very common staple food here in China. Ooh, I eat a lot of pork. Pork is probably the most common meat here in China. It's the most commonly consumed one. It's the easiest to find. It's one of the cheaper meats to find. Beef. I enjoy beef quite a bit. Eat it whenever I can. And yeah, I get it. I have a lot of vegan followers for some reason, even though I talk about eating meat all the time, and they're like, no, Ramsey, no, stop, why are you doing this? No. Yeah, I eat animals, and I make no apologies for it. We're animals, man. We gotta eat to live. We gotta live to eat. And we gotta kill. And we gotta be really honest about the fact that eating anything involves killing, whether it be plants or animals, it involves killing. So take responsibility for the blood on your hands, my friends. Stop trying to brush it off like it doesn't exist. Talking to you too, vegan friends. Anyway, whole foods, plants and animals. If it comes in a jar and it's filled with processed sugar and crap and unpronounceable ingredients and weird chemicals that I don't even recognize, don't eat it. I don't eat it. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, there are a lot of leafy greens I don't even know how to pronounce in English. I eat a lot of fruit. There are a lot of fruits I eat here in China that don't even exist in English-speaking countries, and I don't even know what they're called in English-speaking countries. Man, my friend Xiao, he was talking about some Chinese fruit the other day, and he said, well, what is this called in English? And I was like, I have no idea. I never even saw that thing in America. Those don't exist in English-speaking countries. It was like, there's got to be a name for it. I was like, well, probably. I have no idea what it is, though. Yeah, man. One thing that's great about China is the fact that they have fruit shops, they've got vegetable shops, these places are all over, they've got wet markets where you can get fresh produce, fairly inexpensive, and yeah, man, you can eat pretty well even if you are not particularly well off. So that's one great thing that China has going for it, man. One thing I kind of hate about going to a grocery store in America, and a lot of people don't even think about this, I didn't really think about this until I left the United States, is that any time of the year you can get the same type of produce. You go to an American grocery store, what do you find? Apples, bananas, oranges, grapes, strawberries, blueberries. You find stuff like this out of season. You can buy it anywhere in the continental United States at any time of year. These things don't grow anywhere in the United States at any time of year. Where do they come from? They're imported from all over the world in refrigerated storage containers. And man, you want to talk about leaving a carbon footprint across the world. That causes some problems. So a great thing that China has going for it, and a lot of countries, not just China, like they do this in Argentina as well. I lived there. You'll see it in, where else? Man, I've pretty much been all over Southeast Asia. You'll see it in all of these. Somebody knocking on my door? Anyway, you'll see it in all of these countries. These shops only sell what's in season. They sell seasonal fruits, seasonal vegetables. So only at certain times of the year will you find strawberries, just when the strawberries are in season. Only at certain times of the year will you find oranges and tangerines, only when they are in season, etc., etc. And that's one of the reasons there's such a wide variety of fruits and vegetables in China that you don't find anywhere else, because Americans are trained in this narrative that you have to eat the same 5 fruits and 5 vegetables and nothing but forever and ever, amen, and therefore you have to create this horrible artificial system of importing crap that isn't even fresh by the time it gets to you, and it tastes like plastic, but you just accept it because it's the way it's always been. Learn to plant a garden, friends. That'll do you a lot of good in the coming apocalypse. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.